All right, folks, doing another Hitfilm tutorial. This one is actually something you can do in Hitfilm Express. And as far as I know, anything you can do in Hitfilm Express, you can do in Hitfilm Pro. Unless you've got a older version of Hitfilm Pro, you might not be able to do everything. But, so let's take a look at what I have worked on so far. All right, so though that's not perfect, little fine tuning it might be. Hopefully that kind of matches my title, Death Star Lasers. Could also see something like that in Independence Day, I would imagine. So why did I decide to do this? Not because I want to do a Star Wars movie, even though maybe I will do a short film one day, do a fan film. In this case, we actually have a series, Ink Stain Superhero, on my Scorpion McKillen channel. There's a link down below if you want to check it out. But in that video, I want my superhero to have some really awesome superpowers. And she's got quite a few, but each video she finds new toys or whatever. So in the future, I can see using that kind of power. Maybe not a planet killer, but something on a smaller scale. All right, so how did I do this? There's probably a bunch of different ways. Some of them would be better than what I am actually doing. But what it started with was a bunch of planes, and let me delete these guys up here because we're not actually using them. All right. So I have three planes that basically are the three lasers, and then another plane that is the final laser. Now for the three lasers, I could have created three light flares on one of those planes. That would have made more sense, and I would suggest you probably do that. What you will do is move around your hotspot center for that to get those lined up correctly. If you use planes, you have to move around the plane, which, in some aspects, it may be easier to find it. Is probably why I did that. All right. So for each plane, 1 to 3 light flares you would add. Then the flare type, flashlight beam. So there's all kinds of different things on here, and you'll find that some of these might do something similar, but flashlight beam appears to be the one that I need. And now so let me go to this point just so I can demonstrate. So there's that, right? If we change one of these, just so you can see that the other ones don't really work that well. These have a lot of great things in here that I recommend you playing with, but none of them do what the flashlight beam does. So change that back. All right. So not going to go into too much detail. I suggest you play around with this. Intensity is pretty much like turning this thing on and off, even though some of the other things will do it as well. So I kind of change that so it grows and grows, and then using key mapping, you'll see it's most intense here at 1.61, and if I drop that down a little bit, you see that it pretty much fades to nothing, right? And you can make it much higher, but I stuck with 1.61 or so we'll just stick with that value. All right. Then after that, to get rid of it, you want to have it key map back down to 0. Scale, if you watch this, you'll see that it does just like scale usually does, right? So we want to make sure those are all the same. You can change the color. I didn't even bother to go see what the Death Star laser was. I think it was green. Could have been a different color. You could mix your colors up if you wanted to have a Christmas tree type deal. I'm going to stick with green. Now, didn't play with any of this stuff. I'm sure that would make some other changes to it. Brightness, as you can imagine what brightness does. We don't need to really look at that one. And then the hotspot scale. So basically where that circle is, if I adjust this, you see that it grows. And that can make it look worse. So just be kind of careful with that. Quantity scale, this is almost like all these little strands or light rays, whatever you want to call them. If you adjust that, that would appear to change the number of those. So you could kind of make that grow in number to give it a little more thickness, a little more 3D look to it, I guess. Link scale. So this is really the number one thing to change here, to adjust this to stop right where all three of these come together. If I make it too big, it's going to go through that spot, right? So you don't want that to happen. So 0.20 seemed to work. If I go beyond that, you see it's just out of control. If I go less than 0.20, you'll see it almost shrinks into nothingness. This could be used for a like a, not a teleporter, but tractor beam type thing. Change the color. Wouldn't be surprised if I use that, especially like when you think of the game, what is it, Galaxian? That could be like a tractor beam effect there. So let's put that back to 0.2, or roughly that. Width scale, obviously that's going to change your width. And so if you want to thin these up a little, which is probably not a bad idea, they do look a little thick, so you can narrow them a bit more. All right, well, that's all I have for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, got something out of it. Please like, please subscribe, and don't forget to check out the Ink Stain series. Thank you.